Sziasztok, Titus vagyok. Hi everybody, I am Titus. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to share to you guys of the thrift stuff I bought in California because a few weeks ago around a few weeks ago in on March 4th we drove to LA because we were gonna pick up our stuff that we shipped from Guam, and it was like all of our belongings, and I am so happy that we even got to ship our stuff that in Guam because when we first moved out here we only brought like a few of our belongings and our clothes, but the rest of our stuff, like our family pictures and and um and our books, our Christmas decorations, our Christmas decorations, it we left it there because we didn't because my dad wanted to stay here in the States for 2 years back in 2016, but then when my father had his heart attack and when he recovered from his heart attack, um he um he decided that we're going to remain here in the States permanently. And so after that, a few years later, we were and so we were and so now we remain here in Texas permanently, and and so we're and so after we decided that we were going to remain out here permanently, it became a few years with our stuff that's been sitting in the house in Guam. And so we went back to Guam last year to empty out our house so we can ship our our stuff that's been sitting in Guam for years. And so we shipped it from Guam to Los Angeles, and then after last year, around this year, drove from we drove from San Antonio to all the way to El Paso, and then all the way and then to Arizona, and then to New Mexico, Arizona, and then California. Yeah, and it was like a really long trip, and we had a hard and it was a really long trip, and we had a hard time trying to find our hotel, but on the bright side we found it, and God is good. And so so we spent like 2 days in California, and before we packed and before we picked up our stuff, we went thrifting in California. So I'm going to show you guys what I bought from California. So this is the movie called The Help, and when I s- and I wanted to get this because I like this movie, and it takes place in the 1960s, and yeah, and yeah, it has yeah, and it also and it al- and this is the and in this movie there's this lady named Abeline where she tells a little girl positive words when she's like, because at that time, blacks were blacks were segregated from the white people. So and so when the civil rights movement happened, that's when segregation stopped. And so in the scene of Aibileen telling May Mobley this positive stuff, I decided to pick that up because it's because I should fill my mind with positive stuff too. So the positive words that she says is, you is kind, you is smart, you is important. Okay, so let's get on to the next item I bought in California. So next I bought this, which is Troy, and this is a movie that takes place in ancient Greece, and it's about Achilles. Yeah. And I really like this movie because it takes place in Europe, and if you don't know, and if you don't and and if you haven't seen my videos of me representing that I'm Hungarian, and singing the Hungarian national anthem celebrating Hungarian holidays, I'll tell you now. I'm actually Hungarian on my dad's side, and I get my Hungarian blood from my great grandfather on my dad's side, and so that's where, yeah, and so that's, yeah, so that's where I get my Hungarian heritage from. So next I got Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, I never seen this movie before, but I bought this movie because a few weeks ago I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game that takes place in Japan, and I was really obsessed with Asia and medieval Asia, and especially because I'm a part Japanese on my mom's side. I also been like obsessed with the samurai era. Okay, so those are the three DVDs I bought in California. And next I bought a book of Who Was Ben Franklin. And if you don't know who he is, he was a man back in the 1700s who created electricity. So it says here, Benjamin Benjamin Franklin was a man of many talents. He was a statesman, perhaps only George Washington did more than Ben Franklin did to free the United States from England. He was a scientist. For one thing, Ben discovered the nature of lightning. He was an inventor. He was an inventor. Thanks to him, we have lightning rods and bifo- bifocal glasses. He was an author. He wrote a famous book about his experiences. Yeah, so that is the book of Ben Franklin. And next I got a book of Who Was Marco Polo, and he was an Italian from Renaissance Italy, back in and he lived in Venice, and he was the one that, and I think he traveled from Europe to Asia by land. So so it says here, Marco Polo lived in Venice, Italy, more than 750 years ago. Back then in the 1200s, most people spent their whole lives right where they were born, but not Marco. He made an 11,000-mile trip to China and back, and he became the most famous traveler in Europe, not just because he made such a long and dangerous trip, although hardly anyone else in Europe had done this at the time, but because he wrote a book about his adventure. So, oh, it says the 1200s. Oh yeah, I forgot. Mm, my mistake. It does. My mistake. It was he. My mistake. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Marco Polo did live in the time of the Italian Renaissance, because the Renaissance started in 1300s. Okay, so next I got a book of Daniel Boone, and he was the a person who lived in the frontier in the 1800s, back in the 1800s in America. I don't know where, but somewhere in America. But it says here, go back in time more than 200 years. Much of America was wilderness. Elk and bear roamed the forest, and buffalo wandered the plains. White settlers clashed with great Indian tribes. 200 years ago, the American frontier was wild and dangerous. Was wild and dangerous. People struggled just to survive. One man more than anyone loved this untamed land. By foot and on horseback, he blazed trails for others to follow. A great hunter and woodsman, he led the first pioneers across the Appalachian Mountains into a paradise of fields and forests. Today we know it. Today we know it as the state of Kentucky. No wonder he became famous throughout the world as a frontier hero. No wonder his nickname was the Great Pathfinder. Who was he? Daniel Boone. So, oh, okay. So it says here. So on chapter one, it says on October 22nd, 1734, when Daniel Boone was born, there was no was there on October 22nd, 1734, when Daniel Boone was born, there was no United States. Back then there were 13 colonies that belonged to England. The Boones lived in the colony of Pennsylvania. Wow, that's really cool. Oh, my mistake. I didn't. I guess he didn't. Well, I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did live in the frontier in a different state, but I think Daniel Boone was born in Pennsylvania. Okay, and next I got and so I also went okay, so next I also went thrifting in El Paso on our way back here to San Antonio, and and I got a book of Who Was Theodore Roosevelt, and it says here on October 4th, and it says here who was Theodore Roosevelt, and if you can't see it, it says it right here. Yeah, and it says on October 14, 1912, a Milwaukee, Wisconsin crowd eagerly waited to hear Theodore Roosevelt speak. Roosevelt had served as president of the United States several years before, and he was campaigning once again for his old job. His speech was written in 50 pages of paper that he had folded and stuck in his upper jacket pocket. Outside his hotel, Roosevelt never saw the saloon keeper who approached him with a gun drawn. Someone in the crowd did see the gun and pushed the would-be assassin arm away just as the trigger was pulled. The shooter fired once and Roosevelt fell to the ground, but quickly rose. He did not know he had been hit until someone noticed a hole in his overcoat. When he reached inside his coat, he realized he had been wounded. The bulky folded speech in his pocket, along with the steel case for his glasses, saved his life. Although he was bleeding, Roosevelt insisted that he give the speech. The crowd could not believe that he would continue to speak rather than go to the hospital after being shot. But Roosevelt told them it takes more than that to kill a bull moose. Bull Moose was just one of the nicknames Theodore Roosevelt earned during his long career in politics. Some of the others were Teddy, Teddy, a nickname he hated, and the Trust Buster. But Bull Moose was a good choice for a man who was physically strong and who was always determined to do things his way. I care not what others think of what I do, but I care very much about what I think of what I do. That that is character, he famously said. The Bull Moose was certainly a man of great character. This is talking about Theodore Roosevelt. Okay, and next I got a book of Wonder Woman. Yeah, and Wonder Woman, she's like my favorite superhero, and the reason why I chose her to be my favorite superhero because 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 I think she's like based on the ancient Greek myths. So it talks about her here. Hang on. Yeah, and it says on October 21st, 1941, issue number 8 of a comic book called All Star Comics hit the newsstands and stores in America. It contained an exciting story starting the superhero team known as the Justice Society of America. Superman and Batman were members of the team, but this story featured other heroes including Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Johnny Thunder, Sandman, Starman, Dr. Midnight, and an owl named Hooty, who joined forces to fight a criminal mastermind known as Professor Elba. Within the back pages of this same issue was a shorter story featuring the debut of another superhero, but this was a superhero like no other in comic history. In a time when nearly every comic book hero was a man, this hero's name was Wonder Woman, And that's not all that made her unique. The background history of the character, her origin story, was inspired by Greek and Roman myths that have been around for thousands of years. In this in this first story, she was compared to gods and goddesses, as lovely as Aphrodite, as wise as Athena, with the speed of Mercury and the strength of Hercules. Her mother was the queen of the Amazons, a tribe of strong warrior woman who lived in Paradise Island, where no men were allowed. Wonder Woman was the strongest and bravest of all the Amazons. By the end of the story, this amazing Amazon ready to leave par- was ready to leave Paradise Island so that she could save America and the rest of the world from disaster. The story of Wonder Woman had begun. So I was right. And I did. It is based on Greek, and it is based on Greek myths, but it's also based on Roman myths too. So and so that's all I and so that's all I got, guys. Oh wait, I forgot. I also got this in California, which is a Disney cup. Yeah, when I saw this at the thrift store, I wanted to get this because because it says Disneyland. Yeah, and I wanted to go to Disneyland in California, but we were too busy with stuff, and I guess we didn't have the money for it. But hopefully I get to go to Disneyland someday. Yeah, so I got this so it can make my day so I can make my day that so so I can make my day that I got something from Disneyland. So, anyways, that's all I got, guys, and that's all the stuff I bought from California and El Paso. And I'm gonna close the vlog now. And if you guys are brand new to this channel, please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you can get notified on every brand new YouTube video I post. And I'll see you guys next time. See you later. Vislat kusanam.